Hi, my name is Joy Kirkpatrick, and I'm the Farm Succession Outreach Specialist for the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension.
And I'm Caitlin Davis, the Agricultural Outreach Specialist for UW-Madison Division of Extension. And this is your farm succession in your future? Start planning now. Whether you've seen the animated 90s version or the recent CGI version, the scene from The Lion King pictured here remains the same. Mufasa and Simba are standing on Pride Rock overseeing the land, and Mufasa tells Simba that someday everywhere he sees the light touching will belong to him. When working with farm families, this is similar in nature to what we hear from conversations between the owner generation and the successor generation, that someday everything they see will one day be theirs to farm. How each farm goes about that transition is as unique as the operation they have. However, there are tools and resources available that can assist farms as they go through that process. Just like in The Lion King, things don't always go the way we plan. That's why it's so important to plan now. I'm going to hand things over now to Joey Kirkpatrick to talk a bit more about why farm succession planning now is so important.
Thanks, Caitlin. So the interest in farm succession has been high and continues to grow. And the question is, why is farm succession such a hot topic right now? So one of the reasons is basic demographics. The Pew Research Center reported that 10,000 baby boomers turned 65 years old on January 1, 2011, and 10,000 will turn 65 every day through the year 2030. While farmers may not retire at that traditional full retirement age for Social Security benefits, they do need to plan for their later years and their legacy. Research from Iowa and Wisconsin and some national surveys indicate that very few farmers have what we would consider are true succession plans. They may have estate plans or a will, but they might not have thought about how do they start transferring those management decisions, and then also thinking about how they have their asset distribution in those plans may affect the farm. And the other thing that that research noted is that many haven't even identified a successor. Then that third bullet is, do farmers retire? A lot of times we think about farmers not retiring. They may contribute some sort of management or labor. That same research from Wisconsin and Iowa notes that about 3/4 of farmers responding to the survey indicated that they will never retire or only semi-retire. So when we think about that, that can impact how that next generation manages that business. And then also for many farms and farm families, there's that inherent mixing of business and personal decisions. Just the fact that the home is also considered a business asset can make the plan to retire more complex. Just because the owner generation might want to slow down on the work side of things, does that mean that they're ready to move out of the family home? And then also farming is a capital intensive business. The increasing value of farmland can be a factor in looking at competing goals for that value of those farm assets. In this slide, this is data from the USDA National Agriculture Statistics Service, and it's the most recent data for a report on the U.S. farmland values from August of this year. As you can see in the legend, the redder the state, the higher the average price per acre for farmland. The reddest in the legend shows that the reddest is farmland that's higher than $8,400 an acre. And then the next reddest one is about between $5,000 and that $8,400 per acre. You can see that in the upper Midwest, we're very high value farmland states. The other number that you see in each state is the percentage increase in value from 2021 to 2022. Wisconsin's farmland increased an average of almost 10% just from 2021. You'll see that our neighbors in Minnesota saw almost a 17.5% increase in just this past year, and Iowa increased almost 21.5%. And the average price for that state for farmland is $9,400 an acre. This increase in farmland just didn't happen in the past year. Between 1990 and 2015, farm real estate values have increased 6% each year, except for one. And so for farmers who owned their farmland for decades, they have seen their land values significantly increase. The question is, how do farmers realize this increase in value when they're ready to retire, or at least slow down in their later years? Many of them may be that old saying of land rich and cash poor. So when we talk about this with farm families, and we talk about this question of what farm families want these assets to be, we talk about the three buckets. For many farmers, that farm is their retirement plan. They may have reinvested their profits back into the business to grow, improve, and modernize. So they may not have any extra to invest into an IRA or other types of retirement plan. And farmers are, if anything, excellent tax managers. So over the years, they may not have reported a lot of income, so they minimize their taxes, which also means they may have minimized their payments into Social Security. For these reasons, the farm has to be their retirement plan, and they need to either sell those assets or stay in the business to provide for their later years. And then when we think about that middle bucket, that green bucket, is if a successor has been identified and maybe already been committed to the farm, these same assets need to be in place in some way and available for them to use to continue the business. And also, if you have maybe you have an on-farm child and off-farm children, or your successor may not be related to you and you have children, for that owner generation, the consideration is, do those farm assets also need to be some sort of inheritance asset as well? And then the question can also be, so the question is can it be all three things? And then we've also talked a lot about, like, if there's still debt on the farm, you might need a fourth bucket to make sure that you include debt that's already on the farm, that debt repayment into the mix. Farm succession continues to be identified as one of the top stressors for farmers. A study released in May of 2020 that was conducted in Canada noted that farm succession, or the term farm legacy, was identified as one of the top 8 stressors for Canadian farmers. 2 others in that top 8 also have bearing on farm succession planning as well, and those are financial pressures and conflicts with family members and/or associates. Some farmers view business planning, especially memorializing plans on paper, as boxing them in to a plan and might reduce their options and flexibility. However, the research shows that a properly written plan can provide a framework to evaluate opportunities and ensure that decisions are made to reach the goals of the farm members. And it also, the Canadian research noted that farmers who had plans felt less stress. So having ideas and plans on paper can also be extremely helpful as the owner brings in that next generation. The next generation can feel more confident that they are a part of the plan and see their future place in the business. There are many reasons given as to why farms avoid succession planning and choose what we call the do-nothing strategy. So in addition to some of the reasons we've already mentioned, there are a plethora of reasons given for not planning. Some of these that we've got listed here on this slide, it can force people to confront their own or their parents' mortality, and that's always, it can be an uncomfortable thing to be thinking about. It may raise unpleasant family issues. There may be that, we've talked a little bit about that fair versus equal inability to choose among children or make decisions under the distribution of assets. Some of the owner generations may feel a loss of control if they're not the ones making the decisions. And for many farmers, being a farmer is a deep part of their identity. And to think that they might not be the farmer making the decisions on the farm can trigger a sense of loss and a new feeling of being unanchored to something that has been an integral part of their lives. The others are they might be too busy with the day-to-day tasks to carve out time for this planning, or they may simply not know how to start. So instead, the most popular option that is chosen is the do nothing strategy. And even though it is the least logical, most costly and destructive option. As we work with farm families around farm succession, we try to set the stage that while farm succession can be an overall positive thing for the farm and the family, it will most likely involve some awkward conversations. And that's okay. It's important to acknowledge that change is not comfortable for some in the business, and also acknowledge that change is necessary to continue the farm business. Some farms are motivated by looking at the financial performance and capacity of the business and want to analyze the ability of the farm to reach their goals. Others may have seen a tragedy in the neighborhood and realize that they should put their own plans in place. Or maybe the successor is trying to determine where they fit. What responsibilities and decisions can they make to build their management skills? So that's where the conversation starts. So no matter where a farm might come at it, like might be the things that motivate them, we really encourage farm members to explore their personal visions and goals and discuss them with others so that the planning starts with building a shared vision. No matter what motivates the conversation, it's helpful to think about the when and where to start the conversation. While we understand that holidays may be when all of the family members are physically in the same place, it may not be the best time to talk about business. And holidays can be stressful in and of themselves, and talking business can ramp that stress up to a level 11. Similar to what this cartoon depicting a Thanksgiving dinner where it's, okay, who's ready for some bickering rather than who's ready for some turkey. Farm businesses may want to consider someone outside of the immediate farm business to serve as a facilitator. This may be an agricultural service professional that they've worked with and that they trust, or it may be helpful to have someone further outside the circle who can be a neutral facilitator. Even if you don't, if you don't even know how to bring up the subject, you might be able to say something like, I just watched this fantastic video by the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension on farm succession planning, and they offered some great resources that might help us get started. Caitlin's going to share now a new resource we've developed to help farm members start the conversation.
Thanks, Joy. Let's take a look at a workbook that was developed by the University of Wisconsin-Madison called Cultivating Your Farm's Future. In this workbook, you'll find 3 sections: where are you now, where do you want to be, and how do you get there. This workbook was developed to help farm families as they work on their succession plans. It's not meant to be a book that you use cover to cover. Some worksheets you may find relevant to your situation, while others may not be. That is why we developed a checklist at the beginning of each section so you can develop your own plan utilizing these worksheets. If you're just getting started and the workbook and succession planning, I would suggest utilizing the farm profile worksheet, list of advisors and important documentation, if you don't already have your own system, and what does your future look like? Both the owner and successor generation should fill out the What Does Your Future Look Like worksheet. This can give everyone perspective then on what they are thinking for the future and spark conversations on how to transfer management. I'm going to now turn things over to Joy to share her screen so we have a chance to take a look on where you can find that workbook and also an upcoming workshop that we will be having this winter. So first you're going to go to our farm management topic hub, which is farms.extension.wisc.edu. And from there, you'll see at the top of the screen, there is topics, events, news, and programs. Underneath programs is the Cultivating Your Farm's Future. Once you click on that, it'll bring you to this landing page and give you a little bit of introduction into what is the Cultivating Your Farm's Future. Underneath here, you'll see several tabs. So the workshops, which we'll be talking about a little bit more later, the workbook, and then workbook outline, and then how to contact us. So for now, we're going to go to where the workbook is. Here you'll find a fully downloadable PDF workbook where you have fillable worksheets. So I'll have Joy click on that. And you'll see it just takes a moment to download. I suppose it depends on your internet speed. And then once she has a chance to bring that up, we'll go ahead and go through it.
Now, can you see it?
Yep, now I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
A few little glitches here and there. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so yeah, so this is the Cultivating Your Farm's Future workbook. I'll have Joy scroll down. So at the beginning here is an introduction to each of the section and a little bit about how the workbook came to be and a bit about the process. So if you want to keep scrolling. So here are those three sections I mentioned earlier. The where are you now, where do you want to be, and how do you get there? And under each section is different worksheets that can help you out. So the ones that I mentioned were the farm profile, well, which is good. I'm glad we're jumping to that. You can see here, we'll go back to the top. All right. The transfer of management worksheet, or sorry, list of advisors and important documentation. And then the what does your future look like? And then I'll have Joy scroll down just a little bit more. And then before each section is this action steps checklist. And again, this is completely fillable PDF, so you can check off and mark off as you go. Now, again, not all these worksheets might be relevant, so you can go ahead and just check off the ones you need. And if there are things in here that you're like, oh, I would need this, you can go ahead and put them in that table for things you need to do. All right. Thanks, Joy, so much for sharing that. And we'll go ahead and get back to our presentation. This winter, we'll be providing a series of workshops to assist farmers with beginning their farm succession process. We talked earlier about how to have that initial conversation, but where do you go from there? That is where we can combine the workbook and the workshop to help farmers keep on track and get a great start to their plans. There are a lot of things farms can do before they meet with key partners, such as an accountant and attorney, and that is having intentional conversations around what they want and organize the information that they need for those meetings. This workshop series can help prepare you for those intentional conversations and provide tools and strategies to organize. At the end of the workshop, you won't have a completed plan. This is intended to be a really great start to the succession process and provide you with key next steps once you complete it. The series will provide you with framework for facilitated conversations with your peers, and with the homework and expectations that you come prepared will provide you with the accountability to keep moving forward. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into what the classroom will actually, or the workshop will actually look like. So we will be using what's called a flipped classroom model. This is intended to not be the typical webinar lecture where you sit and listen. Everyone has a chance to participate and learn from each other. In between each session, we'll have content that can be watched and read at the participant's own pace. And it'll be utilizing more of the time during the live sessions for activities and groups discussion. So instead of sitting around and listening to Joy or I talk, you'll have a chance to hear from your peers. Now, who should attend? This program is for farm businesses and farm families interested in shaping the future ownership of the family farm, the family legacy. If you are the owner generation, you may be wondering how to transfer a viable business to the next generation or determining how to divide farm assets. If you're the next generation, you may have questions or ideas about your future role in the farm business. Multi-generations of the farm or family are encouraged to attend together. So what can you expect what can you expect to get by attending? After finishing, you'll be prepared to communicate, write, plan, vision, and shape the legacy of the farm business, as well as save time by having these crucial conversations before visiting with key professionals. Now, a little bit dive deeper into what topics will be covered. Again, this is about starting your succession plan. You won't have a completed plan, but you will at least have a really great start and key components on what to do next for some of those steps. Determining what you want out of the farm, developing the next generation in your legacy, holding those family meetings and conversations, choosing and working with professionals, and again, thinking about that what is fair versus what is equal. I'm going to turn things now over to Joy to talk a little bit about when the class is.
Great. Thanks, Caitlin. So we're going to hold these workshops, or this series, 2 different times in the winter of 2023. And the content is going to be the same for each series. It's just that we're offering it at different days and different time frames. So if the first series will start January 24th, and it will be held for 3 Tuesdays in a row. So January 24th, January 31st, and February 7th. And those live sessions will be held from noon to 1:30 p.m. So if that time frame works for you, then that would be the one that we would want your farm to register for. The second series will be all Thursdays, and that'll start February 16th, and then it'll be February 23rd and March 2nd, and those will be from 6 to 7:30 p.m. These are going to be those live sessions, and they won't be recorded. So I know that some people are used to signing up for webinars and virtual things and have an expectation that don't have to attend and they'll get the recording later. But that won't be the case for these, because we really want these to be interactive, and we also want people to feel comfortable sharing in these conversations. So those are a couple of the reasons that these will not be recorded. And then the time commitment is, as already mentioned, we're going to meet live 3 times, 3 weeks in a row for an hour and a half. And then before each of those live sessions, we're going to provide some of that flipped classroom piece. Is that we'll provide some of the lecture by video, and we'll try to make those short, and then also have some homework assignments to tell you which worksheets to be working on, or if we want you to have some sort of discussion before the meeting, before the live session. So there will be some time commitment to prepare for those meetings that we meet when we meet an hour and a half all together. That homework is really to help you prepare for those discussions and group activities. We're going to have some important dates on the next slide, and that is registration deadline. So we do need a little bit of time to be able to get all the materials together and mailed out to you. So for the session that starts in January, the registration deadline is January 17th. And then the registration deadline for this series that starts in February is February 6th. The sessions do cost $100 per farm. This includes one workbook, a folder for materials, and then access to those course videos and the 3 live sessions. If you'd like additional workbooks, those will be $15 for each additional workbook. And we really want to encourage as many from your farm to attend the series. And if you do have family that may be not geographically close, but they want to join, that's the beauty of having these virtually, is that you can join from anywhere. And I want to note that the registration link to register is on the website that we showed you, that Caitlin mentioned, that there were the workshops, the workbook outline. So if you click on the workshops, that will bring you to a page that has the registration link in there. And if you have any questions about the workbook, about farm succession in general, or about the workshop series that we're offering this winter, please don't hesitate to contact us. We have both of our emails are listed on this slide, and I also have my phone number there. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you.